Cleveland, 1923. Two cars collide at a busy intersection. A carriage swerves to avoid them and crashes too. Nobody died. But it wasn't the first time this week, and everyone on the street knew it wouldn't be the last. The problem wasn't reckless drivers. The problem was the signal itself. A simple stop-go light with no warning in between. 1 second, go, the next, stop. No time to react. A black inventor named Garrett Morgan had seen this exact scene happen too many times. So he built something to fix it. And it worked so well, it's still protecting you at every intersection today. But here's the twist. For decades, most people never knew his name. Garrett Morgan was born in 1877, the son of formerly enslaved parents. He had almost no formal education. He left school around the 6th grade to work. What he had instead was a relentless habit of noticing broken things and fixing them. By the early 1920s, Morgan already had a reputation as an inventor. He'd patented a chemical hair straightening product. He'd built an early gas mask, a breathing hood designed to filter smoke and toxic fumes. That gas mask already tells you something about the world Morgan operated in. It also saved lives in a very literal way. 2 years before the traffic signal story even begins. In 1916, an explosion trapped workers deep inside a tunnel under Lake Erie, filling it with smoke and toxic gas. Rescue crews couldn't get in. The air itself was lethal. Morgan and his brother put on his own breathing hoods and went in anyway, pulling survivors out through air no one else could breathe. Morgan was later awarded a medal for it. For a while, at least in that one moment, the invention and the inventor were both impossible to ignore. That success didn't erase what came next. A quick note on accuracy. Some details of this next story vary slightly between sources, but the core fact is well documented. When Morgan tried to sell his gas mask to fire departments and businesses across the American South, buyers frequently refused once they learned the inventor was black. So Morgan sometimes had a white actor pose as the inventor at public demonstrations, while Morgan himself, disguised as a Native American assistant, operated the device from inside. The technology wasn't in question. His race was. That's the atmosphere Morgan was working in when he turned his attention to traffic signals. Basic traffic signals already existed by 1923, mostly hand-operated or simple two-position electric lights in a handful of American cities. But they had a fatal flaw, a hard switch from go straight to stop, with zero transition. Drivers had almost no time to slow down safely, especially at busy intersections with carriages, pedestrians, cyclists, and early automobiles all competing for the same narrow strip of road. Morgan's solution was simple, but genuinely clever. He designed a 3-position signal mounted on a T-shaped pole, not just stop and go, but a middle position, arms raised at an angle, warning traffic in every direction to slow down before the full stop, giving drivers a few crucial extra seconds to react. It's the same basic idea behind the yellow light you see today. Decades before electric-colored lights became standard everywhere, he patented the design in November 1923. The invention worked. It worked so well that General Electric bought the rights to Morgan's patent for $40,000, an enormous sum at the time. His 3-position signal became the foundation for the modern traffic light used across the world. And then, for most of the next century, his name quietly disappeared from the story. Standard invention histories, textbooks, and popular retellings of the traffic light's origin often left Morgan out entirely or reduced him to a footnote. Some credited only the white engineers and companies who later refined or manufactured the technology, Even the tunnel rescue, metal and all, faded from the popular version of the story within a generation. It wasn't a single dramatic act of erasure. It was just the ordinary, grinding pattern of how black inventors were treated in American history for generations. Credit quietly redirected, contributions minimized, names left out of the textbook paragraph, decade after decade, until it simply became the accepted version of events. The object survived perfectly. The man behind it very nearly didn't. In the version of history most people were taught, it took decades for that to properly reverse. Historians, civil rights organizations, and eventually schools and cities began actively restoring Morgan's name to the record. Streets, schools, and museum exhibits across the United States now carry his name specifically to correct that long gap. In 2005, Morgan was posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Here's the part that makes this story worth telling. Unlike most objects on this channel, the traffic light itself was never hidden. It stood in plain sight, on every corner, for 100 years. What was hidden was the person who made it work. Today, nobody looks up at a yellow light and thinks about any of this. It's just a color, a pause, a few seconds before the light turns red. Nobody questions who invented it, because nobody thinks about it at all, which is exactly the kind of quiet, permanent success Morgan spent his life fighting to be recognized for, while he was still alive to see it. So, picture that Cleveland intersection again. The near miss, the startled drivers, the carriage swerving just in time to avoid a collision that could have been so much worse. Somewhere nearby, a man who already knew what it felt like to be disbelieved simply because of how he looked, watching the same problem everyone else had learned to shrug off and ignore. He didn't need credit to fix it. He built the solution anyway, patented it properly and carefully, and changed how traffic moves at nearly every intersection on Earth, long before the world was ready to say his name out loud, and long after most people had already forgotten it once. So, next time you sit at a red light, waiting through that brief yellow warning in between, remember, someone had to be erased from the story first, quietly and repeatedly, so the invention could quietly outlive the prejudice that tried to bury the man who made it.